again. Welcome. I would say good morning, but that wouldn't work for some of you. I would say good afternoon, but that would only work for a few. And I'm not going to say good night because our friends in Vietnam, Singapore, and Asia, you're up, you're ready to learn from John Maxwell. Now, I say hello again because, as many of you know, in fact, over 250,000 of you know, this is day 2 of John Maxwell's Leading Through Crisis Leadership Summit. We believe that John Maxwell has been positioned for such a time as this to bring salt and to bring light into the world. By salt, what we mean is we believe our message is to make the world a little bit better. By light, we believe that we should shed a ray of hope, a ray of belief, that even though we're in crisis time today, that we have a responsibility as leaders to bring hope and to bring encouragement. Now, I'm taking just a couple of extra minutes today in my preliminary talk, not because John's not ready, he's wishing I would get off the set, but really because yesterday we had so many of you, again, 250,000 of you, flood Facebook, flood johnmaxwell.com live stream, so much so that we had some buffering issues. Now, if you're having buffering issues now, if you have it when John starts, back your player up about 1 minute, and that will help you with the buffering. We want you to get all of what John Maxwell has to say. Today, I'm really excited because not only are we having a 3-day leadership event, yesterday John talked about leading through crisis. Today, he'll be talking about turning adversity into advantage, part 1, and tomorrow will be turning adversity into advantage, part 2. Not only are we doing those 3 things, but on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, same time, same place, John will be hosting a live Q&A format. In other words, we believe after we have been talking for 3 days, we need to start listening to your questions and responding. So from 12 o'clock noon Eastern time on Wednesday to 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, John will be doing a Q&A session live with you. In fact, you may have a question. You may want to know how you should respond in moments like this, and you would like John to speak into that. We have an email, we have an inbox for you to send an email to, and it is hope@johnmaxwellteam.com. If you have a question, if you have something that you would like John to address on Wednesday, hope@johnmaxwellteam.com. Now, John Maxwell Team, let me explain that to you. It's 33,000 coaches, speakers, trainers that have been trained by John Maxwell, has been mentored by John Maxwell, and they have been equipped and empowered with yesterday's lesson that John did with a mastermind guide to serve you, to help you. In fact, they are capable of being able to take John's content from yesterday. By the way, if you did not listen to it, go to this same page, scroll up. The entire message is there from yesterday. These coaches, we have given them mastermind guides, and they are able to help you as a small group, a virtual group, to go through the content to make your team more effective in times like this. In fact, if you would like a teammate to help you, one of our 33,000 coaches around the world, you can go to johnmaxwellgroup.com, scroll down to find a certified JMT member, and you will be able to find one in your area. They're standing ready to help you. Now, I'm just about done, but we're going to do something else today that I'm really excited about. In fact, as John is teaching, I'm going to challenge you. There's a box right down, those of you that are watching Facebook Live, there's a box, there's a little arrow, there's an action item that says share. And I'm going to challenge you, share with your Facebook community what John is teaching today. We heard so many comments that his message was spot on, and we believe today's will be no different. So hit your share button, get this message out there, because we do believe that the John Maxwell message needs to be heard in times of crisis. There's one more little note that I want to do before I turn it to John, and he's ready to go, and I hope all the buffering is done. But we decided as a team last night, out of literally over 4,000 comments that was posted about John's message, we took out 20 of those comments. And today I'm going to share 10 people that made a comment. And for those of you that I share your comment live here, if you will send an email to hope@johnmaxwellteam.com, John is going to send you a copy of his book, Leadership. We believe leadership is a message for today. And so the 10 that I'm going to read real quickly, John, I'm going to read some comments from yesterday. You haven't even heard these.
No.
If I read your name, if I read your comment over the next couple of minutes, go to hope@johnmaxwellteam.com, and we will send you a free copy of John's book, Leadership. Now, here's what that means for today. Not only share John's message, but post a comment. Let us know what John is saying that is impacting you, and we will do our best to be better over time. Now, Jog Lim said, John, it gave me renewed hope that thinking positively doesn't minimize the pandemic, but rather proactive means we have strong belief that things will get better, and we need to be able to give strength to our families that together we can weather the storm. Jog, thank you. We want to send you a book. Janice Hansford said, very powerful, very insightful. Love being able to watch something worthwhile during this time of uncertainty. You qualified for worthwhile, okay?
Yeah, well, it's not hard to beat the media.
All right, John, you're going to help me. Christina Swetzer Grigoriou.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to let you help me with this name. Christina Swetzer, my Southern. Gregorio. She said, thank you for the insight, the presentation that gave me great tools to work with my team. Thank you also for the lighthearted visual of doing the hokey pokey on the tank in Israel. Karen Headlam Cyrus said, show me your scars and deal with your mess.
Yeah.
I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake.
That's beautiful.
Leslie Stoneham said, loss is wisdom acquired early. Wisdom comes from dealing with your mess. That is so good, John.
Yeah, works.
Brittany Nicole Bishop says, hope is far better than optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the difference in the Jewish. Remember how they looked at optimism as they hoped things went well. But remember, the whole issue of hope was that they were going to do something to make it better.
Absolutely. Hanny Zaki said, uncertainty is clear. However, the clarity to learn and take action are the tools of hope. I have three more.
These are great comments.
These are great comments.
You deserve a book.
They represent thousands, John, thousands. We just picked this out. Lisa Yvette Jones said, optimism is passive. Hope is courageous.
That's right.
Roxanne Lynch said, I love the idea of flexing, bending, allowing our creativity to shine. And finally, Leah Reiner said, leaders always give a right perspective to people during a crisis. They don't always have the right answers, but a right perspective is what gives hope, security, and encouragement. John, that is so good, said Lisa.
Wow.
Well, we've given ourselves time to quit buffering. We've given ourselves time to let people share and post comments. And now, John, I want to turn it to you. Thank you so much for our team and for you making this day possible.
Thank you, Mark. And most of all, thank you. I mean, you're what makes this really work. To be honest with you, I was pretty staggered when the team came back with all the people that were part of yesterday when I talked about how to lead through a crisis. I mean, I knew we were going to have a good number, but when they told me that, over 250,000 plus so many, Mark, didn't you say to me those 250,000? Many of those people said they were going to what's the technical term? They're going to pass on to others.
They're going to share it with their page.
So in other words, they put it on share on their page. Okay, you can see I'm the technical wizard around here. So what that means is it's going to go to multiplied many more, and well, that's very exciting to me. In fact, I've given a lot of time of thought from yesterday on leading through a crisis to today. And pretty much, let me just frame what my thinking is. I felt yesterday was a success. And I mean it not because I was the teacher. I think it was a success because you were there and you're hungry to learn. And we're all in the same boat. It's like the stupid story of the two guys that were on one side of the boat and there was some on the other end. And there was a hole on the other end of their boat. And the one guy says to his buddy, you're glad it's not on our side, aren't you? Well, the boat's going to sink, folks. And so what you have to understand is during a crisis, we're all in it. We're all in the same boat. But as I framed my thinking yesterday and saw your incredible response, by the way, Mark, if you'll remind me, those 10 books that we're going to send to people that sent comments in, I'm going to autograph those.
Awesome.
Okay, how about that? Is that good?
Great.
So I'll autograph them to you. And again, get engaged with us. Stay in the game with me today. Make comments to us. And tomorrow, I think I'll have Mark read, maybe 10 more. So jump in but I want to autograph it to you. Just another way of saying thank you. But back to framing my thinking from yesterday to today. My main thought has been, okay, we're helping a lot of people. That's a very good thing. Now the question is, how can we do a better job helping a lot more people? Because I just stop here and call a timeout. Leaders, what they do is when they begin to sense they're having some momentum, they don't coast on the momentum. They ask themselves very simply, how do I build that momentum? And so from yesterday to today, I've been asking myself, okay, if we are adding value to you, if we're helping you, and 250,000 plus people say we're helping them, so thank you. And I hope that you're bringing more of your people, your team, your friends, your family online with us. But if that's the truth, then the question is, how can I do a better job? How can our team do a better job in this time of very difficult days to add more value to you? And so I'm going to say right at the very front that there are some what we call free resources that'll just help you. These are things that are yours, and all you've got to do is make yourself available to them. And for example, let me just share how you can stay connected with us audibly. If you love podcasts, if you just go to John Maxwell Leadership Podcast, if you just go to that, you can join. I don't know. We've got over 6 million people that have followed us on that podcast. We'd love to have you. Again, it's totally free. And for videos, we do our Minute with Maxwell. Now, yesterday I shared with you that because of the crisis, I have done 30 what I call statements of strength. Statements that usually on Minute with Maxwell, I take one word and I take a minute and kind of define it through the grid of leadership. But I took statements of other people, great men and women who have gone through adversity. And for the next 30 days on Minute with Maxwell, you can get it. You can just go to Minute with Maxwell and you can get those statements of strength. Now, here's how I'm going back to the frame of my thinking from yesterday to today. I thought to myself, I did 30 statements of strength, and I thought, I think I want to do 30 more. It's just I want to stay with you a little longer. I want to just, I don't know, be your friend, be your walking companion through this adversity, be your, I don't know, advisor maybe. I don't know. Just, my name's John. I'm your friend. I just want to walk alongside of you. And so I'm saying, how can I give you more? How can I put more into your life that will feed your life and allow you to feed your faith and basically starve your fears? That's what I'm really trying to do. Because as Mark read one of those comments, one of the people said the fact that, this doesn't lessen the crisis. I'm not trying to in any way to make the crisis less than what it is. To be honest with you, I don't know what it is yet. And to be honest with you, no one else does either. We're still on this incredible learning curve about this crisis, and we don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know how bad it's going to get. So there are no easy answers. But if I can't give you definitive answers on the extent of a crisis, at least what I can do is be your friend and walk alongside of you. during the crisis and feed you some faith thoughts and things that will help you to be a better person. So we got the podcast. It's free. It comes to you every week. You can have it, obviously the videos. And then if you're in the blogs, for you that are readers, if you just go to johnmaxwell.com, I have a continual blog in there for you that, again, will just help to lift your site. So anyway, we're in this together. And I just want you to know, I'm just going to do my part, do my best. And, I'm human. My best sometimes isn't good enough, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give you my best shot. So yesterday I talked about how do you lead through a crisis, and the leaders just absolutely love that. In fact, Mark, you were telling me that our coaches, that there's going to be kind of an online program from our coaches to people that want to. I'm sorry. Then I'll let you sit down. Yesterday you were there taking notes. Now I'm just bringing you in here all the time. I'm sorry. But you just told this to me right before we went on. Tell our people what is available to them if they want to make themselves available.
Yeah, so perhaps one of our team members is the reason that you're joined in today. If you would like one of our team members, our coaches that have been certified, that has been a part of John's organization, if you would like for one of them to help you during this time, they have a mastermind guide off of what you taught yesterday. You can go to johnmaxwellgroup.com, johnmaxwellgroup.com. On that page, you can find a coach near you and a certified John Maxwell team member near you, and they'll be able to help them on what you did yesterday.
So they'll be able to literally walk them through the lesson
right.
if they want to. Oh, good. Okay. Do you have that? You have that? Okay. I'm not sure I have it, but if you have it, that's all that really counts anyway. So let's talk about how to turn adversity into an advantage. And there's part of this title I like, there's part of this title I really don't like. What I really want you to get is the fact that in adversity, there are certain advantages that adversity and crisis bring to us that without that adversity, we wouldn't have those advantages. We wouldn't have those opportunities. That's kind of the thesis of the lesson today. When I looked at the title, How to Turn Adversity into an Advantage, I wasn't trying to think of it in a wrong term as far as how to take advantage of people that are in adversity. That isn't that at all. I mean, remember yesterday I shared with you that in a leader's perspective, it's always the people first. What's always best for the people? That keeps a leader's motives pure and right. If you and I are constantly saying, well, what's best for my people? Because whatever is best for my people as a leader, I should be doing my very best to provide it for them. But this is a terrific lesson on the fact that in adversity, if we have the right perspective, and this is a lesson on perspective, trust me. In fact, today and tomorrow, this is a part one, tomorrow's part two. This is a perspective lesson. What I want you to catch, though, is that without any question, the adversity that you and I are going through right now does have distinct advantages for us. That I know. You say, John, how do you know that? Well, it's very simple. Every crisis and every adversity in the history of the world has turned into terrific advantage for society. Again, I remember I mentioned yesterday, every medicine you take was because there was an adversity, a problem. Somebody had something that needed to be cured, so somebody went and invented a medicine. In other words, good things come out of bad things if you have the right perspective. If you have the wrong perspective, that's not true. So this lesson is on how do I take the adversity and gain some advantage out of it for myself, for my family, for my community, for others. And when I go to perspective, here's the quote: how we view things is how we do things. So it's possible for two people to view adversity and have two different responses to that adversity. One takes adversity and turns it into an advantage, and the other one takes adversity and says, oh, I'm at a disadvantage, and I'm a victim, and they just basically lay down, and instead of getting better, they get worse. Same adversity, same situation, two total different responses. Now, the responses are based upon a person's perspective. Let me give you an example. Albert Einstein, there was a brilliant fellow. Albert Einstein said this: in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Now, I've loved that statement for quite some time, and I share it with you because I think there's something very interesting in what Albert Einstein said. He said it was in the middle. In the middle. In fact, when I put that quote in here, I capitalized all the letters on middle. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. You know what Einstein was saying? He said, you have got to get into the crisis. You have got to get into the middle of the problem before you see how to get opportunity out of it. Because at the beginning, we don't understand how deep the problem's going to be. It doesn't affect us enough to take away our options so that all of a sudden we get desperate for an answer. It's not at the end. If by the end we haven't seen opportunity, to be honest with you, we just passed it. The door was back in the middle. But in the middle of difficulty, adversity, crisis, that's where Albert Einstein said, that's where we find opportunity. It's that type of thinking, perspective, for you and me that I want to talk about because trust me on this, if we have the right perspective, we're going to find that to be very true. Now, let me give you an example. Now, this is a business example. Some of you are in the business world, some of you are not. So let me just give you this one because I read it just the other day, and it fits the business community. So if you've got a team, if you've got an organization, you've got a big company, small company, whatever. This comes out of Forbes. And when I was going through and reading this, the thing that really grabbed my attention was the headlines. It said that the coronavirus crisis is creating problems, but it is also creating tremendous opportunities. This comes out of Forbes. And so then they gave an example. The example they gave there I know pretty well. And they gave the example of the Ford Motor Company. And the Ford Motor Company, if you go back about 12 years, had quite a few years consecutive of poor performance. They were in a recession, and they needed to finance. In fact, they were so desperate that Bill Ford, kind of the father of the whole Ford clan, basically sat down and had to talk them into collateralizing the blue Ford Oval. The thing that's most precious to Ford is that brand, that trademark. And they literally had to literally had to take that and use it for collateral to borrow money to get themselves financially in a position where they could maybe upright themselves. And then they also brought in Alan Malawi, brought in an outsider, a terrific leader. And if you know the story, it's an incredible story. It's a story of an amazing turnaround, maybe the most amazing corporate turnaround in this century. But what I want you to see is it was only in the adversity, the heavy crisis. I mean, what would make the Ford family say, okay, we're going to use this incredible trademark as collateral to borrow money? I mean, that's the last thing in the world they want to give up. But can I tell you something? A crisis will make you do things that you wouldn't do without the crisis. Let me just stop and talk to you for a moment. You and I both know in our heart that there are some changes we won't make unless we have to make them. Now, I speak for myself. In my life, there have been a few times I just didn't want to make the change until all the other options were stripped away from me. And one day I looked at myself and said, I've got to make the change. Well, it happened for the Ford Motor Company. And in this Forbes article, it then put 3 things on the advantages of a crisis. And I give this to you quickly because this is in the business field. I'm getting ready to come to you in the personal way, so stay right with me. Here's what Forbes said. First of all, a crisis changes the balance of risk and reward. And they so clearly wrote the fact that during normal circumstances and situations, we don't risk a lot. We enjoy where we are, and the tendency always is for us to stay put, not make a lot of changes. And the fear of failure overrules the risk issue. So we basically stay the same. But what happens is that in a crisis, all of a sudden it helps us realize that we have to change. All of a sudden, what was kind of optional, should we change, becomes a command. We have to change. Why? Because we're in deep weeds. And so basically Forbes was saying if you have a business, if you have a team, whatever, that there are perhaps some things in your life that you've just held pat that you should have let go a long time ago, and you're going to risk more during a crisis, and they said that was good. Number 2, and I love this because it's so true, a crisis increases our focus. You see, every organization has what I would call competing priorities and conflicting priorities. Some priorities that just conflict with where you're really wanting to go, and then you have some that internally compete with what you're trying to accomplish. And so what happens is there's a lot of activity in an organization that isn't necessarily accomplishment. But what does a crisis do? We immediately begin to eliminate all of the things that are not totally essential in our business. In other words, we begin to cut. We begin to look and say, what do I have to have versus what was nice to have? And that's happening right now. I mean, it's happening everywhere over America. People are looking and they're reevaluating. And what they're doing is that this crisis is causing me. I mean, I could give you a lot of personal examples in my life that I'm just saying, okay, I now have to focus on not what is wonderful, what is nice, what I would like to be included in. I have to focus on one thing, what's essential. Everything else falls aside. There's a terrific benefit in business when you begin to get rid of conflicting or competing priorities. Major difference. And say, okay, we've just got to stay with the main thing. We've got to make the main thing, like Covey says, the main thing. So, as Forbes was pointing out so good, it basically, a crisis gets us to take more risk. Crisis increases our focus. And number 3, what it does is it identifies leaders. Because what do leaders do during a crisis? They stand up and they stand down. You see, you can't manage your way out of a crisis. You have to lead your way. If you could manage your way, there would be small incremental changes that you can control and feel comfortable with that you would begin to allow in your life that would get you out of the issue. And that isn't going to get you out of a crisis. All of a sudden, you've got to have somebody stand up and say, wait, I'm going to lead my way out. I'm going to get creative in my thinking. I'm going to get bold in my decision making. Wow. Now, here's what I want you to see in business or in your personal life. Einstein was right. It's in the middle of the difficulty where the opportunity begins to show itself. I could give you all kinds of examples of what I can sense as a leader that's beginning to happen. Now, I don't have the back end. I don't have the whole story. I'm looking at a picture that's not complete. But let me just give you an example. What's happened in the education world? Well, what's happened in the education world is all the kids got home. Not only in elementary and high school, but universities, colleges, sent the kids home. We got to have our social distancing. And by the way, I think that was a very wise decision. I think right now, social distancing is probably the most important thing we can do to cut this out and probably, hopefully, get some answers and move on with their life. But now, so what are the kids doing? Online classes. Kids, millions of kids right now are on online courses. Now, online courses, that's not new. That's been around for about 12, 15 years. And there has been a slow, steady increase of students taking online courses. But now they all have to do it. And here's what's going to happen. There are kids who have never taken an online course, and they're going to do that, and then they're going to look at themselves and say, wait a minute, I'm home. I can be in surroundings that are familiar to me. I don't have to go back to college if I don't want to. I don't have to. I can get a degree online. Now, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying I can guarantee you, I promise you, that there are a bunch of students that are all of a sudden going to see that there's another way to get their education. I'm not even saying it's a better way, but I'm just saying crisis causes change. And I will tell you that steady increase in online kind of classes, after this, it's going to be like that. It's just going to increase. Why? Because a lot of kids who have never done it before tested it and said, oh, this kind of works for me. I think in the business community, when people are working from home, I think it's going to change the work environment. I really do. I'm not saying it's pro or con. It doesn't matter. What I want you to see is that crisis causes you and I to make changes that we would never make if we didn't have the crisis. The way I prefer it is to say crisis bumps us out of our comfort zone into our creative zone. That's a great statement. Crisis bumps us. In fact, if I don't get the bump, I won't get out of my comfort zone. It's the bump that gets me out of my comfort zone into the creative zone. Okay, now that's business. Okay, so for you that have organizations, teams, companies, whatever, hopefully that helps you. The rest of this lesson today and the lesson tomorrow is going to be in a very personal way from me to you. And it's going to be applicable to you personally. It's going to be applicable to your family. It's going to be applicable to all of your friends. But it's going to be just one-on-one. And I'm going to just tell you, there are some major advantages that we're going to receive out of the adversity that we're now going through. And by the way, one more thought. When we're in the middle of the crisis, where the opportunity, as Einstein says, there are two kinds of people. In the middle of the crisis, there are some people who are basically saying, how long will this last? We're all asking that, by the way. How long will this last? But there's a higher level of person who is saying, while I'm in it, how can I get better? How can I improve? What can I learn? How can I make this a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk to you about bad experiences for a moment. And there are 3 thoughts on bad experiences, since we're having one, a big one. The first thought on bad experiences is this. Everyone has them. and everyone is in the middle of this crisis. I mean, no one is excluded. All of us are being touched. But, some days you're a pigeon and some days you're a statue. Some days you get the privilege of dumping on someone. Some days you're the one that gets dumped on. Well, a crisis is where, let me define a crisis is where we're all a statue, okay? We're all getting dumped on. I can think back to 2008 when the economic recession really hit us. And as a speaker, I said, wow, I've got to help people. Again, that's what a leader does. The moment there's a problem, first thought of a leader, got to help people. And so I thought, okay, how can I help people? And I remember sitting down in my office at home, while speaking engagements and everything was canceling and everything was kind of going south. And I developed a teaching, a lecture, and it became a huge popular lecture for the next 3 to 4 years. And that is how to do good things when things are all so bad. How do you do good things? And it got out that I was going to have a teaching that how do you do good things when things are so bad? And for the next 3 years, companies, groups of people that wanted me to come and speak, they said, John, do that speech on how to do good things when things turn out bad. And it was just a pure teaching on, okay, it's bad, but while it's bad, we don't have to stay bad. This is the point. While it's bad, we can say, what good thing can I do? What good thing can I learn? Wow, that's perspective. That's the difference. And for 3 years, I literally went around the world, not only around the country, around the world, talking about how to do good things when things are so bad. Why? Because it gave a message of positive application and hope. You see, what we do with bad experiences defines who we become. What we do with bad experiences defines who we become. The second thought that I want to give you about bad experiences, not only everyone has one, okay, so we're all in the same boat, okay, and there's a hole in the boat, and it's going to affect all of us. Number 2, no one likes bad experiences. I have never met a person who comes to me and says, you know what, John, I think I'm the most happy and fulfilled during the crisis. I just, you know what, John, I love problems. I love questions I can't answer and issues I can't solve. Nobody likes this. Nobody. I don't, you don't, we don't like it. I think we're kind of like Lucy, who just basically said one time, I don't want ups and downs, I just want ups. Okay, let's take a vote. You may be all by yourself, you may be with family members, or maybe just a couple people since we're social distancing, but every one of you do what I want to do. Let's all do a vote. How many of us, we want to join Lucy's club? We just want ups and ups. But in fact, I really want ups and ups, and I know you really want ups and ups. And in a real world, we don't get ups and ups. Now, fortunately, we don't get just downs and downs. But in a real world, we get ups and downs, and we've got to be like my friend in college who told me one time, he said, John, I'm never down. I said, what do you mean you're never down? He said, I'm either up or I'm getting up. Well, in a crisis, what we're doing is getting up because we've been knocked down. You see, the issue is not have we been knocked down. The issue is do we stay down? Or do we say, I don't like down. I want to get back up. It's those who don't like down, but go from not liking it to do something about it, that action, to get back up. But none of us likes a crisis. We all have it. None of us like it. My friend Chuck Swindoll, several years ago, he sent me this, and I'm going to just read it to you. It's about Chippy, a parakeet, okay? And he starts off by saying, Chippy the parakeet never saw it coming. One second, he was peacefully perched in his cage singing. And the next moment, he was sucked in, washed up, and blown over. His problem began when his owner decided to clean his cage with a vacuum. She stuck the nozzle in to suck up the seeds and feathers in the bottom of the cage. Then the phone rang. Instinctively, she turned to pick it up. She had barely said hello when Chippy got sucked in. She gasped. She let the phone drop. She turned off the vacuum, and with her heart in her mouth, she unzipped the bag, and there was Chippy, alive but stunned, covered with heavy black dust. She grabbed him. She rushed him to the bathtub, turned on the faucet full blast, and helped Chippy under the torrent of ice-cold water, power washing him clean. So she did what any compassionate person and owner would do. She snatched up the hairdryer and blasted the wet, shivering little bird with hot air. And this story closes by just this beautiful phrase. Chippy doesn't sing much anymore. Of course Chippy doesn't sing much anymore. Oh, there's a whole bunch of us right now. We've been blasted. And, we're just not doing a lot of singing. You see, in bad experiences, everyone has them and no one likes them. And the last thought I want to give you on bad experiences, and then I'm going to turn to perspectives in a moment, is very few people make bad experiences positive experiences. Very few. But I am talking to the few. Our time together is for me to rally the few. I don't have any illusion that I'm going to rally the masses. But right now I'm just trying to rally you. Because if I can rally you and get you seen with the right perspective how you can get better through this crisis, guess what you can do? You can then do the same for your family. What a gift for your family if all of a sudden you become the person that shows them the light at the end of the tunnel. Wow. That's why Warren Lester said success in life comes from not holding a good hand, but in playing a poor hand well. Wow. That's beautiful. You see, everything's changed for me. I shared with you yesterday on leading through a crisis that, I literally had dozens of speaking engagements that have been canceled. And the one, I wanted to help everybody, but one really, really, really hurt. Wow. I'd had the opportunity late April to go to the Vatican, and I had an invitation by Pope Francis to do 3 days of teaching with him on what I called a master class with the Pope on leadership. Oh, I look so much forward to time with him and time helping lift that load. And of course, it's all gone. So, again, when I had somebody call me and say, what are you doing right now? What I'm doing is I'm making lemonade. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to make lemonade. We've all been handed a lemon. Now, some people are going to mount that lemon. They're going to take pictures of that lemon. They're going to talk about how tough life is with the lemon. And then there's some people that are just going to take that lemon and cut that baby open and make them some lemonade. In fact, say to yourself, again, you may be by yourself. If you're not by yourself, say to someone beside you, and say to someone right now, I'm making lemonade. So when people ask you, what are you doing in the crisis? Well, I'm making lemonade. See, Napoleon Hill. All right, I'm about to dig in with you. Hang on. Fasten your seatbelts. Napoleon Hill said, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. That is a powerful statement, but my folks, listen to me carefully. It's only a true statement if your perspective is right. Don't miss this. I'm going to read the statement again, and then you determine if it's true in your life or if it's not true. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache comes with the seed of an equal or greater benefit. I will not get an equal or greater benefit from adversity unless I have a perspective that believes that truth. If I believe nothing good can come out of something that is bad, then I will never, ever take advantage of that asset. Well, I wrote my first book, Think on These Things. The reason I chose that title is because of a scripture verse. Now, I'm a person of faith. If you're not a person of faith, this is just good stuff. Just act like it's not scripture and we'll be okay, all right? Because it applies to your life anyway, whether you're a person of faith or not. But the Apostle Paul said something that really was the catalyst for me giving you the title of my first book I ever wrote, Think on These Things. Here's what he said. Summing it all up, friends, I'll say that you'll be best if you fill your minds and meditate on things that are true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious. In other words, he said, you're really going to be at your best if you meditate on good stuff. And then he begins to contrast good stuff with bad stuff. He said, the best, think on those things, not the worst. The beautiful, not the ugly. Things to praise, not things to curse. Now, the Apostle Paul says we have a choice. And in a crisis, I can either think about all the things to curse, and there's a whole bunch of cursing going on and a lot of things to curse, or I can look at that and I say, no, there's some praise in here. There's something I can be thankful for. Now, Paul, why is he asking us to focus on these things? Why is he doing this? Because he knows that a positive perspective in every situation upgrades that situation. Paul is not saying deny reality. In that verse, what did he say? He said there's some wrong things, bad things, things that you could curse. He's not denying that they're there. They're right in front of you. He's not acting as if they're not possible. They are possible. They're reality. But he's saying what we get to choose is what we think on. Wow. I love that. So, I'm going to give you a challenge. In fact, this morning, remember I said I've been thinking quite a bit from yesterday? This morning, I put this in my notes. I'm going to challenge you. This is one of the most important parts of my teaching today. I'm going to challenge you to be one of the few that take a bad experience and turn it into a better experience. Now, how are we going to do that? So write down that challenge. Okay, John challenges me to take a bad experience and turn it into a better experience. Okay, you got that? Now I'm going to get real practical with you here for the next 3 minutes. How do I do that? How do you do that? How do we take something bad and make it better? We have to be intentional. What I'm going to give you can't be accidental. It has to be intentional. I have to be intentional in 6 things right now. I have to be intentional, first of all, in my personal time. I have a more personal time than I've ever had before because I've had a whole bunch of stuff canceled in my life. So what am I going to do in the time that I have? And I hope the answer is not watch TV. I don't mean as unkindly. TV's fine. But I hope we're going to upgrade ourselves just a little bit. For example, for me, on my desk, if you went into my home right now, on my desk on the left side, right here on my desk are 6 books. 6 books that I have purposely, intentionally picked out and said, okay, in this downtime, I'm going to read these books. Now, I haven't been able to get to them until now, but I can. And so I'm going to read those books. I'm also going to make it a time of exercise. I'm going to make it a time of trying to get a little bit better and healthy and eat a little bit better in that whole process. Okay, well, that's personal. But the question is what are you going to do with your personal time? You've got to be intentional. I challenge you to be intentional in your personal time to do something that'll make you better. Number 2, your family time. What are you going to do in your family time? I mean, you're having more family time than ever before. Margaret and I have kind of developed a list of movies that we kind of want to see at home, perhaps together, and you know, we're going to take more walks than we've taken before. In other words, what are you going to do with your family that's just going to be positive? Maybe with your family you would want to sit down and share what I'm teaching. Wow, wouldn't that be good? Sit and gather them around and say, look, this is how we need to be thinking. Here's how we need to be acting during a crisis time. Okay, how about catch-up time? How about your ketchup time? That's the third area. And I mean, I'm not talking about ketchup that you put on with fries. I'm talking about CATH. You know, I can catch up on some things that I would never gotten to. And you know, things like, I mean, mundane things like commitment I made is to clean my closet out. That closet's need to be cleaned out for 3 years. Every time I go into it, it just looks at me and says, clean me out, clean me out. And I've ignored it. But I got a little time. I'm going to do that. But I'm going to have some time now to really give to a new book that I'm writing on that I'm very excited that's going to come out soon. And so now I can really focus on that book. Okay, how about, here's a good one for you. Number 4, be intentional in your adding value time. Okay. In a crisis, people need encouragement and added value more than any other time. So why don't you every day write down one name of a person that you need to encourage, a call that you need to make, you know, just a touch. Just say, I'm going to add value to these people today. Get intentional. You'll be surprised not only how it'll help the people, but how it'll help you. Number 5, okay, I'm a person of faith. You don't have to listen to this, but I have what I call my faith time. Well, what am I going to do as a person of faith? Well, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to develop my trust muscle. I'm going to really work on that. And a trust muscle basically means I'm going to have to trust God to give me strength and peace when I don't have all the answers. And by the way, if you're not a person of faith, you go ahead and do that. You'll find out how he'll help you too. He's no respecter of persons. He loves you every bit as much as he loves me. But I'm going to work on my trust muscles. I'm going to work on my gratitude now, because gratitude is most hard to express during difficult times. And I'm going to work on my prayer life. In fact, I spent time in prayer for you today. Okay, just asking God to give you strength during this time. And then, okay, the 6th thing I want you to work on is your thinking time. Your thinking time. And I want you to put yourself through a positive grid. This morning, I wrote 3 questions I want you to consider every day as you think. Question number 1, how will this crisis make me better? It's a great question. Give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day and say, okay, I'm going to write these questions down. I'm going to think upon this. How will this crisis make me better? There are answers. If you think about it, you'll find them. Number 2, how will I use this crisis to help other people? Wow, that's huge. And by the way, you're going to get an abundance of answers in that, because everybody needs help in a crisis. And number 3, what action will I take? Oh my, this is great. What action will I take that will improve my situation? What action am I going to take that'll what can I do that'll just make me better? Okay, here we go. Perspective principles. How we view things is how we do things. I'll give you probably maybe 3 now, and then tomorrow I'm going to give you 8. Okay, so I think there are about 11 perspective principles. So don't miss what I'm going to give you tomorrow, but I'm going to give you 3 right now. Number 1, everything worthwhile is uphill. If you've heard me do any teaching at all, because I wrote a book called Intentional Living, you've watched me use the visualization of everything is worthwhile is uphill, and I put my arm in the air, and I just basically say, up at the top are my dreams, my hopes, my ambitions, my desires. Everything good, it's up there. It's not down here. I got to climb to get it. Now, when I say everything worthwhile is uphill, let me tell you the difference between in average times and in crisis times. In average times, everything worthwhile is uphill. And during times of crisis, everything worthwhile is uphill. It's just a higher hill to climb. But we still can climb it. You see, we are not given an overcoming life. We are giving life to overcome. There's a world of difference. I'm not entitled to winning. I'm not entitled to have an overcoming life, but I am entitled to having a life of which I can choose to be an overcomer. You see, there's a wrong perspective, and the wrong perspective is that life should be easy. I'm telling you, my name is John. I'm your friend. Life's not easy. It's all uphill. Always has been. Always will be. The problem is we have uphill hopes. We have downhill habits. And downhill isn't going to get us where we want to get. So, I mean, I could give you all kinds of examples. I mean, people hear me speak. I'm talking to you now. And people say, John, you're a terrific communicator. Well, I wasn't always a terrific communicator. This wasn't easy. First of all, let me give you perspective. I've spoken 12,000 times. I mean, talk to me for a moment. If you speak 12,000 times and you don't become a great communicator, you chose the wrong field. 12,000 times. It's uphill all the way. The first time I spoke, it was terrible. I spoke for 55 minutes. I bored everybody. In fact, I went back in the next year and apologized to the people that I had bored, and then I realized none of those people would ever come back to hear me the second time because I was so bad the first time. I wasn't any good. I wish you could have seen me then. If you could have seen me when I started, every one of you would be greatly encouraged. What am I saying? I'm saying very simply that it took a great amount of time, effort, energy, focus, concentration, commitment to become a great communicator. It's all uphill. Writing, it wasn't easy. Over 34 million books have been sold through my name and my writing. People say, wow, that's amazing, that's amazing. No, you got to understand, it was all uphill. My first book, Think on These Things, I talked about a little bit ago, 100 pages, 33 chapters. Do the math. That's 3 pages per chapter. It took me a year to write the book. It wasn't any good at it. The book's not any good. Don't buy the book. I had a lady the other day bought the book. She came up to me to sign it. And I was shocked. She said, I love the book. I said, you love the book? Why do you love that book? She said, I love the short chapters. She said, how did you ever think of writing short chapters? I said, lady, I wasn't any good. I ran out of gas after 3 pages. In fact, some of those chapters are 2 pages too long. It literally took me 5 books to learn how to write. Literally. And I mean, I took writing courses. I had writing, mentoring. It took me 5 books before I said, oh, I can write. And it took me 11 books before I ever sold much. Now, it was a process. Now, I don't want you to miss this. Everything worthwhile is uphill. Nothing comes fast. Nothing comes easy. It's all uphill. It's okay. We're working on perspective here. The moment I believe and accept that everything worthwhile is uphill, guess what I do? I expect to walk uphill all the time. If I don't believe that, I expect it to be easy. I expect it to be average. I expect to coast some. You see, my perspective that it's uphill every day, all the way, is huge. We have John Maxwell team. Okay, here's a perfect example of this. We got the John Maxwell team, and we've had huge success with it. I mean, in what, 9.5 years, 33,000 members in almost every country of the world. And people look at that and they say, "Oh my gosh, John, this is huge." How did you get so good? How did you pull that off? It's uphill all the way. Now let me just stop for a moment and just say to you that I'm constantly asking myself, what can I do to add value to you? Because here's what I know: a crisis never leaves you or me the same. It moves us. It either moves us forward or it moves us backward. It either moves us upward or we go down. But it does move us. And we're saying, oh, I can hardly wait for things to get back to normal. I hear that all the time. Oh my gosh, I want to be glad when this is all over. And wow, things will become normal. And oh, this will be so good. Can I tell you something? They're never going to return back to normal. Not the normal that you and I know. Trust me. There's never going to be that normal again. It's just like 9/11. After 9/11, we didn't go back to normal. I mean, every day almost I'm reminded of 9/11 through something that you or I have to do just because of safety precautions. So Max Dupree, when he said the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality, the reality is very simple, and that is that normal is gone and there's going to be massive change. Well, if the first responsibility for me is to define reality to you, my second responsibility for you is to help you make positive changes. Huge. And how do we do that? Well, I've been through a lot of changes. I've been through a lot of crisis. I'm 73. So in the 60s, I saw the assassination of some of our great leaders, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King. In the 70s, it was Vietnam and the incredible bitter taste that we had over political manipulation. In the 80s, we had AIDS that for 2 years, we were just trying to identify a virus. And we also had economic recession back then. In the 1990s, remember Enron and corporate undoing? And we were just kind of had lost our way ethically in that whole process. 9/11, of course, and then the 2008 recession. Now, here's what I want you to know. When things get out of control, what leaders do is they try to help people get back into control of their lives. And how do I do that? As a leader, how do I help you get back into control of your life? Well, you can control your own personal decisions. And a decision that I would hope that you would make during this crisis is a decision to personally develop and grow yourself. You see, the only guarantee that tomorrow is going to be better than today is the fact that I'm growing and I'm developing myself. I'm 73, but I'm so excited about my future because to me, I'm continually learning, I'm continually growing. There is no finish line in my life. So how do we continue to grow? How do we continue improving ourselves? After the 2008 financial recession, I began to ask myself, how do I help other people? And I came to the conclusion back then that I was going to start the John Maxwell team. I didn't need another business. I already was quite successful in life. I had basically everything I wanted in my life. But I said, what would happen if I took people that wanted to better themselves? What would happen if I took people who wanted to better themselves? And what they need is they need good training. They need some people to good mentoring. And then what they need is somebody to put their good housekeeping seal of approval on them and say, hey, look, this person's a good person. And give them an opportunity and give them a chance. So that's why I started the John Maxwell team. And we have basically 5 lanes. We have the leadership lane. We have the entrepreneurship lane. We got the sales lane. We got the coaching lane. We got the speaking lane. And what we knew is if we could teach you these 5 lanes, you're going to find out which lane you best identify with, but we can greatly improve your life. So then I got a dream team. I got my faculty together, and I got people that were highly successful. I mean, people that were doing it now, not people who had done it or had never done it and were, quote, professors, but people that were right in the action. They knew how to build a business, and they knew how to be successful with their life. And so I brought a faculty on, and then I said, I'm going to certify people. I'm going to put the John Maxwell seal of approval on them, and I'm going to certify them after they go through this certification process. And with that, I'm going to give them credibility. I'm going to give them opportunity. And I can tell you today, we're 33,000 coaches around the world, and I can tell you my greatest joy is everywhere I travel, internationally, nationally, everywhere I travel. Here's what happens. I see John Maxwell team members totally fulfilled because now they have a purpose and mission in life, and that is to add value to people. Because John Maxwell team members, we tell them all the time, we are people of value who value people and add value to people. So just I'm going to go to the next perspective in just a moment, but just a few questions. Questions such as, do you want to take adversity and turn it around and make, an advantage, an opportunity out of it? Do you want more for yourself? Do you want more for your family? Maybe you're saying, boy, there is no new normal. I'm going to go back. I'm not even sure I'm going to have a job. Would you like to be an entrepreneur? Would you like us to help you? So we've got thousands of people now that have an incredible career of adding value to people, and we equip them and train them and certify them. Or maybe you want to subsidize some income and say, wow, I'm not sure I'm going to have enough when this is through. I'm going to be behind financially. All of those things. But the most important question for you is just very simple. Most important question is this one. Would you like to be part of a community that's making a positive difference in the lives of other people? That's the question. If that question resonates with your heart, and by the way, a whole bunch of you, you're already doing great things. You don't need to be part of a John Maxwell. This is just for the few who say, "Wow, yeah, I'd like to be part of a community that's making a positive difference." If that's where you are, I just say to you, I want you to stand on my shoulders. I'll walk alongside of you. I'll certify you. I'll do everything I can to add value to you. And if the answer is yes, then I would just encourage you to think about becoming a part of the team. Now, I'm getting ready to go to that second perspective, which is huge. But now all of a sudden, as I'm thinking about becoming a part of the team, Mark, I'm going to need you to help me for a moment. If they become a part of the team, if they want to become part of a John Maxwell team, tell them what to do real quickly, because then I want to get to the next perspective.
Yeah, if you just would want more information, John, they can go to johnmaxwellteam.com. johnmaxwellteam.com. There's a form you'll fill out. One of our team will connect with you on that.
Okay. Again, it's just for people that would like to be part of that community. I just love you all, team members, non-team members. In fact, what was great is the John Maxwell team said, let's make your talks, John, available to everybody so that they can get the advantages of adversity. So perspective number one, we've already got that one down. And it's a huge perspective. Don't miss it. Everything worthwhile, what is uphill? Number two, the second perspective is there's always an answer. There just is. There is always an answer. I have a wonderful friend, Larry Stockstill. I was casting vision to about 5,000 leaders in a conference. It was a big vision. It was about community and country transformation. In fact, I was challenging these leaders to help me literally go and teach good values in different countries. We've had incredible opportunities. We are now in 3, getting ready to go in countries 4 and 5, going in by the invitations of the president of those countries to teach transformation through what we call round tables, transformation tables, teaching values. And it's a pretty exciting opportunity. So I cast this vision. Larry Stockstill came up to me afterwards, and he looked at me and he said, John, the answer is yes. And I said, okay, Larry, good, that's good. What do you mean by yes? He said, well, the answer is yes. Whatever you need from me, whatever you want from me, the answer is yes. I'm going to give it to you because I love your vision. I love your leadership. I believe in what you're doing. The answer is yes. And then he looked at me and said, John, I live on the other side of yes. And when he made that statement, I thought, wow, I love that statement. And that's what I want for me. That's what I want for you. And what I want you to understand in this crisis time is that there's an answer. We will find a way out. We will find a way through. There's an answer. And what happens is this. Successful people know that. And unsuccessful people don't know that. If I thought that there was no answer in this crisis, to be honest with you, I'd be huddled up in the corner and I'd be a miserable person. But there's an answer. There always has been an answer. The world has always found a way. And we're going to find a way through the coronavirus. Trust me, we're going to find a way. It may be hard. It may take a long time. It won't be easy, but we will find a way. You see, the greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people. Okay, listen to me. This is huge. Stay with me for 9 more minutes. If you'll stay with me for 9 more minutes, my friend, I'm here to tell you, I'm just about to serve stuff that's going to make a difference for you. The greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is the thinking gap, how we think. I'm not talking about intellect. I'm not talking about IQ. I'm talking about successful people think differently than unsuccessful people. I'm going to give you an example right now. Successful people in every difficult situation believe there's always an answer, and people that don't do well in a crisis believe that there's not an answer. If I think that there is an answer, I'll become a victor. And if I think there is no answer, I'll become a victim. It's just that simple. My father's 98, and he's an incredible inspiration to me. He's been very successful. But he grew up in a little town in Georgetown, Ohio, about 25 miles from Cincinnati, just a very poor community. And as he was growing up, he said, John, all of us were poor except for 3 families, and the 3 families that were not poor, he said, I had the privilege, because he was a hardworking kid, that I would leave school and I would do errands for those 3 families. And so I got to know them all. And he said, I came to the conclusion by the time I was a junior in high school, the only difference between the 3 successful families and the rest of us is that they thought differently. And that goes back to the greatest gap, is the thinking gap. So during the Depression, during a very difficult time when my father was still very young, everybody was out of work, so what did everybody do every day? They got in the bread line and they waited for some food. It was a very difficult time. But can I tell you that during that very difficult economic downturn, crisis, my father held 3 part-time jobs. And while everyone else was waiting to get bread, my father was earning money to buy bread. You say, John, what happened? How did he do it? Well, it's very simple. He thought differently. You see, he would go down to the hardware store and say, look, I know that you can't afford to hire me. It's a very difficult financial time, but I love to work. And so could I work for free for you today? And just tell me some things you'd like to have done in the store. And the owner would say, well, you got to understand, son, I can't pay. I don't want to be paid. I want to work for free for you today. And that's what he would do all day. Work for free. At the end of the day, shake his hand, say, I hope I helped you. And of course, the owner said, my gosh, I just wish I could help pay you. No, it's okay. You don't have to pay me. I just wanted to work for you. He said, by the way, if any time there is a little bit of an opening for a job, he said, would you remember me? Well, of course the owner's going to remember him. He's become unforgettable. He worked for free for a whole day. Dad would go to another store the next day, another store the next day. For a whole month, he went to a different place of employment and just worked for free. And in about 6 weeks, he started getting calls. Hey, we've got to, could you work for 8 hours a week for us? Yeah, well, sure, I can work 8 hours, and we can pay you for 8 hours. Can't pay you full time. Oh, yeah, I can. Oh, yeah, you want? He had 3 part-time jobs. Everybody else is out of work. What was the difference? Same place, same crisis, but not the same thinking. My precious friend, there is always an answer. Don't let anyone take that away from you. I will not let anyone take that away from me. There's always an answer. The third and last perspective I want to give you today because I think this is just absolutely huge in your life and in my life and everybody's life. Not only is there always an answer, but number 3, allow adversity to help you discover who you really are. Because adversity will move us. It'll move us. And sometimes we need to be moved to find our niche, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a real corny, cute story. This is just as corny as can be, so just hang with me for a minute. But I'm talking about allowing adversity to help you to discover who you really are. It's the kid who was playing baseball just by himself in his backyard. His mom was looking out the window, and, you know, he's a typical kid throwing the ball up and then swinging the bat. And so when he saw his mom looking out, he looked at his mom and said, "Mom," I am the greatest hitter in the world. He threw the ball up, and he missed the ball, and he said, "Strike 1." He wasn't discouraged. Picked the ball back up, threw it up the second time. Strike 2. The mom's kind of looked at him. You know, he swung twice. He hadn't got a hit yet. And he said, "It's okay, Mom. I'm the greatest hitter in the world. I only need 1 strike. I'm the greatest hitter in the world." And this time he threw the ball up, swung as hard as he could, missed the whole ball, but he swung so hard he's now on the ground. His mom's kind of feeling a little bit bad for, quote, the greatest hitter in the world who just struck out. And she said, "Honey," she said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "Oh, no, don't be sorry, Mommy. It's okay. Listen, I've discovered something. I just struck out the greatest hitter in the world. I am the greatest pitcher in the world." I love that story. It's corny. But I give you that story because, my friend, some of us need to be moved. And when we get moved, we're going to get moved to the place where we really should be. 2 quick personal examples. Most of you know that I started my career off as a pastor, had a degree in psychology, counseling. And so I did a lot of counseling for the first couple of years. It was kind of expected of me, but there was a problem. The problem was I wasn't good at it. I don't have the patience. I don't have the mercy gifts. I lack all the qualities of a good counselor. And so people come to counseling with me, but it was wearing me out and it was wearing them out, and I really wasn't that good. In fact, after about 2 years of doing something I wasn't really good at, I'll never forget, I just said, "I'm not good at this." I came to the bottom, okay? I came to the bottom and said, I'm never going to be good at counseling. And so I remember in my little small country congregation, I one Sunday announced, "I'm not going to be doing any more counseling." And that's when the lights all came on, because those farmers, they just started clapping. They started clapping and said, "Oh, he's finally realized he's not any good at that." And I wasn't any good at it. Now, through my not being any good and failure in counseling, within about 6 months, I began to, instead of counseling, working on the weaknesses of people, I began to focus on the strengths of people, what they did well to make them better. And immediately I found that I'm a terrible counselor, but I'm a fabulous equipper. If I wouldn't have been bad in counseling, I'd have never become an equipper. I had to get bad in something to move me to get good in something else. And for many of you, that's what this crisis is going to do. It's going to move you to higher ground. Last story. At 51, 22 years ago, I had a heart attack. And in that heart attack was literally at a Christmas Eve party with our companies. When I was battling for my life for a couple of hours there, it was pretty tough. You know you're not in good shape when they bring you in and you have one doctor, and about an hour and a half later you got 5 doctors in the room. And it wasn't going very well. I needed to have a heart cath. I was in the wrong hospital. It's a long story. I don't want to go into it. But here's what you got to catch. Here's what I don't want you to miss. Don't miss this. Okay? In this incredible crisis of my life and death crisis that I had, when I came out of it and I came through of it, it made me such a better man. You say, "Okay, John, what happened? What was that turn in your life?" The turn was very simple. I felt that my life was spared because my calling was important. And all of a sudden, it raised the stature of that calling, and it raised the stature of what I was doing. The calling got bigger, and I determined to get better. And I can say in the last 22 years of my life, they've been the best 22 years of my life. In fact, I would say the last year of my life has been the best year of my life. I'm 73, and I'm still going up. But it was that crisis. It was the fact that I came out of that and said to myself, I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. The calling is bigger. I've got to get better. Now, I give you this personal stories because you identify with the crisis. And I just want to wrap this time up today by saying, first of all, thank you. Again, you've taken personal time and you said, "Okay, John, I'm going to learn how to take adversity and bring it to an advantage in my life." And remember, tomorrow, I've got 8 more perspectives to teach you. Don't miss it. Get your friends. Get on there with me. But I close this by saying very simply, it's impossible to know where you are and what you're going through. But it is possible for me to give you teaching of hope, teaching of practicality, something that you can put your hands on that will make you better. And that's my only goal. The only reason I'm spending time with you is because I believe in you. I believe in your potential. I believe in who you are. I believe, being a person of faith, that you are here with a divine purpose. And this crisis would be awesome if every one of us could just find our divine purpose. You have one. Trust me. It's there. There's always an answer. So I'm going to encourage you, even between now and tomorrow's lesson, I'm just going to encourage you to spend some time. Ask yourself, what's my purpose? Begin to look from the perspective that has a positivity to it and believe that there is going to be an answer for you. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to do part 2 of this lesson. I want you to be with me. Bring your friends to be with you. But in the meantime, between now and then, I'm praying for you. I love you. I believe in you. We're going to get through this crisis together. And my name is John, and I'm your friend.